Bo Mel, good morning. Nice to see you. You got a new shortstop to write down on your lineup card, and a really good one. I know you have to be pleased about the roster addition.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that have to be confirmed here in a little bit, but hypothetically, it would be a fantastic sign for us. It's, you know, something that we were targeting from the very beginning of the offseason. Was an important position for us. So hopefully, we have something to confirm for you here in a day or so.
That's right. We should make right the fact that it's not official yet because we've had a couple of these.
He's been around a while.
Well, we had a couple of these at the Giants not too long ago that were reported that didn't have. This one we're led to believe is just a matter of dotting I's and crossing T's, so that's a good thing.
That's true. So if this is
Hopefully
confirmed
that's the case,
and you land him on your club, what will a shortstop like that do for your team?
Oh, I mean, look, it's just such a premier position, and with Chapman on the other side over there, left side of the diamond, not only defensively but offensively, it's a huge upgrade for us. And now we can do some things potentially a little different with a guy like Tyler Fitzgerald, who's got a big upside too. But it was really the target for us coming into the offseason was trying to get a premier guy at that position.
This National League West does not get a lot of recognition for the depth of it. We always talk about the National League East with the Phillies, the Braves, and now the Mets with their moves they're making and stuff like that. But, man, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, Bob, this is a pretty tough division.
It's a really tough division. I don't know that it might be the toughest division. So you look, it starts with the Dodgers and the world champions, and they're getting a little better this offseason as well. So it is a tough division, but, it's also exciting to be able to play, within your division with great teams and inspiring games, and, all those ballparks, including ours, tend to be pretty full. So it's a pretty exciting division to be able to play in.
Hey, can I take you back a little bit? When did you first start thinking about being a manager? Was it in the big leagues? Was it minor leagues? Or when did that first start coming across your mind?
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about it at all. My playing career, I was just trying to get through another year and get in as many years as I could. I think the catching position leads to maybe watching the game like a manager, and I had quite a few managers that made me watch the game like they did, starting with a guy like Roger Craig in San Francisco. But it wasn't until Johnny Oates said something to me. I was on the bench one day. I asked him a question about, a pitching move or a move during the course of the game. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm going to tell you the same thing Walter Olson said to me one day. You watch a game like a manager, your acumen's there, handling a pitching staff and clubhouse and all those type of things. He said, I think you have a future in front of you. And then it wasn't until I was a bench coach for Phil Garner that he kept talking to me about not when you're going to be, possibly being a manager. He said when you're going to be a manager. Phil Garner is probably the biggest influence I've had in my career.
Wow, that's really a big statement because we know how influential Roger Craig was in your career too, because you've spoken about it a lot. And it strikes me, Bob, that the stewardship of the San Francisco Giants baseball franchise from Roger Craig passed down to you, and now you're kind of co-stewarding it with Buster Posey. There's really an important lineage there. So I want to know about the early stages of your working relationship with Buster as he gets settled into a new role in his life and career, and you guys kind of collaborating together. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, look, for a guy that I competed against on the other side, managed against for a long time, I don't think we ever had a conversation. Just kind of looked at each other and kind of grunted at each other a few times and never really had a conversation. But, the A's-Giants rivalry is a big deal, especially in the Bay Area. So those games are pretty spirited. But, just sitting down with him, talking baseball here in the offseason, his baseball acumen's off the charts. You can kind of see why he was the player he was, the leader that he was. And leaders are just kind of leaders, and it's just kind of in there, and it certainly is with him. It's celebrated in San Francisco. Everybody's very excited about having a a legend like him running the show, and he's certainly done nothing here to begin with that would suggest that he's not up for it. So it's really interesting listening to his perspective and how he kind of sees the game.
A little bit more on your career and the fact that you've managed now 5 West Coast Major League teams, and maybe with the exception of San Diego, the ballpark's a little unique there, but you have managed in teams that have a lot of kind of ballpark nuances. Oakland, I know you made it a point to tell your guys in Oakland, look, let's harness this place for our benefit. Seattle, Phoenix, like those are all unique ballpark situations. How then do you get your head around what you're faced with at Oracle Park with different weather conditions, with the fact that it's not a conducive place for tons of offensive environment? What message have you given your guys about playing at home?
Well, look, first of all, it's packed almost every single night, and the fan base there is fantastic. Even in a year last year that was disappointing, they were out there every night. So there's a vibe and there's an energy at that ballpark every night. It's a beautiful ballpark. I don't know that there's a better ballpark in the big leagues. It's just as far as vantage points, sight lines from the ballpark, just the visually, it's just a fantastic place to be able to go to work every day. But, there are some nuance to it, and I think we're starting to realize or kind of target the way we're looking at players. There's a lot of close games. Pitching and defense is paramount in that ballpark. Maybe tough to sign some hitters, maybe more conducive to signing pitchers, but defense and pitching are going to be a priority for us. We do need a little bit more offense. But I think, once you play there, and, I played in Candlestick Park, so you talk about windy. It's not even close to that windy there. But it's also cool, and I think over the course of a 162-game season for everyday players, it actually gives you a little bit of a break. You're not in the humidity every day. It's not 100 degrees there. It's pretty consistent, and as far as the weather goes. And so, that's kind of what we speak to is, look, and Roger Craig spoke to the same things in Candlestick. We're going to use these conditions to our advantage because we play here every night. It's a little uncomfortable sometimes when you come in for a 3-game series and you haven't played there with the wind and the coolness at all. But we want to use that to our advantage, and we're there every night, and we're used to it.
Hey, I want to. That's just good stuff, man. Because old Candlestick, we've all been there. That was a nightmare in itself. Remember they used to have that jacket or whatever. If you survived the button, I survived.
It was the quad de Candlestick, the pin that you'd put on your cap.
I remember that. Hey,
you did. You have to get a cap a quarter size smaller because you needed to harness it to your head. And you used to talk to the players about, hey, what's the wind doing? And in every position, they're saying it's in my face. And left fielder's in his face. Catcher, it's in his face. So it was not the best place to play. But like I said, Roger wanted to make sure that we embraced it.
Hey, last thing. I know we got to let you go here. I just want to circle back to your relationship with Buster and talking ball and all that. It's been a mark that the Giants are headed in a different direction with Buster on top. You were really slanted a lot towards numbers. Now it seems like you're coming back a little bit more talking baseball in a sense. Is there a difference right now? Do you feel a difference?
Well, you know what? It's as far as our relationship, it's catcher talking to catcher. So, look, we're the analytics is still in house, and it's very important in every organization. I think maybe a little difference with Buster is he's played and he's got the experience and he understands that there's a heartbeat and there's a pulse to players, and it's that's not something that you take lightly, and you understand that there's everyday nuance to all that sort of thing. So the only difference is having a guy that's experienced back there playing every day. But I've had several GMs. I've had great experiences with all of them, and I really look forward to this relationship with Buster.
Very well said.
Bob, we appreciate the visit, man. Best of luck this offseason and with the agenda that you guys are trying to accomplish for 2025, and happy holidays to you. Nice to see you. Thanks for the time.
Appreciate it. Same to you guys.